Found his secret Reddit account. I've been suspicious for quite a long time now, months, and have been quietly investigating on my own. Been seeing changes in behavior, an uptick in phone usage, and have felt more distance coming from him. Every once in a while I have gotten a gut feeling that he had been with someone that day. A few times he has smelled different coming home, slight distant in behavior, almost like he doesn't want to get too close to me, and acting a bit nervous. All this has triggered me into snooping through his phone when he leaves it around and when he is sleeping. I've come across a few apps that I have learned is frequently used by people who cheat to communicate with APs. I also came across his secret Reddit account and his activity on an adultery sub this weekend, and I was finally able to confirm that he is actively cheating on me. I am gutted and I don't know what to do. He doesn't know that I know, and it has taken everything in me to try to act normal in front of him and the kids. I have confided in one friend because I just don't know how to handle this, and I can barely stop from shaking all weekend. She told me to do more investigation to see if I can find out who the AP is before I confront him. I never thought I would be here, contemplating divorce, what will happen to my kids, losing all of our life plans. WTF. I don't deserve this. All I can think of is what a waste. He's ruined everything. Update. I spoke to an attorney today. We are in a no-fault state, so infidelity wouldn't impact a divorce, but if it came to a custody battle, the details of the infidelity might be helpful. I am grateful the attorney has an opening tomorrow, although I don't think I'm quite ready to make any sound decisions. His next opening isn't for 3 weeks, and I want to do as much research done as possible before I confront my husband. And I don't want to wait 3 weeks for the confrontation. So, tomorrow it is. The one friend I've confided in was able to get me an IT specialist who is a family member of hers. He met with me this morning and he was able to retrieve a lot of helpful information, including AP's identity. I will wait until after I meet with the attorney to decide how to handle AP. I feel like everything is moving very fast, but at the same time not fast enough, as I know I need to gather all information and get my ducks in a row before my husband is tipped off, but also I just want to get this confrontation over with. Update 2. This morning I met with my attorney for over 2 hours. Yesterday he had sent me a ton of paperwork and a list of things to bring. Basically all of our financials. I felt prepared. Meeting with him put me a bit more at ease as far as my own financial future goes, which was a huge concern. We live in a no-fault state, which means infidelity won't have bearing in the event of a divorce. However, if there is a custody battle, which I don't see happening, details of the affair could be useful. I asked my attorney if it would be appropriate to contact AP's husband, and he gave me the green light to do so. Right after my meeting with my attorney, I called AP's husband. It was a short phone call, letting him know about the relationship between our spouses and that my husband is unaware of my knowledge of the relationship. He asked to call me back. And shortly after he texted me asking to meet with me in person this afternoon. He assured me he would not tell his wife I had contacted him. Well, I just left our meeting. I am sitting in the car feeling a sense of relief but also dread. AP's husband had been suspicious for months. They live a few towns over and we live about an hour away from a major city. My husband spends a great deal of the work week in the city. In fact, we have an apartment there so he can avoid the long commute home during the week when meetings run late and he has work dinners. The husband says AP had been spending a lot more overnights during the week than was typical in the past few months for work. She had been on her phone a lot more frequently and had become protective of her phone. He saw a flirty text over her shoulder at one point and accused her of cheating about 2 months ago. She had excuses. He let it go. The majority of their meetups were at our apartment. I told him their message exchanges proved this. A few of my favorites were from her. I wonder if your wife will smell me on her sheets. I hope she does. Was sent when my husband told her of a planned weekend in the city with me and my kids. Is it wrong that I think of the apartment as our apartment, home, just me and you in our little love nest? An apartment I own half of, by the way. I gave AP's husband a thumb drive of all of the evidence I had discovered. There is a lot, and a very detailed spreadsheet of every meetup, dinner, gift, hotel visit, etc., etc., etc. My husband would be very proud of that. He is a spreadsheet guy. AP so asked me to wait a few days to confront my husband to do his own investigating. I gave him the info of my new BFF, IT expert, and my divorce attorney. He mentioned looking into getting one. One thing I should add, this man is extremely good-looking and very in shape. My husband is a good-looking guy too and takes care of himself, but this guy was really something. I don't know why that surprised me. He was also very kind and sympathetic, which I was relieved about because I was wary of the response I would receive. The plan is to keep in touch so that we can confront both of them at the same time, separately of course. Update 3. Spoke to OBS today regarding evidence found and logistics of confrontation. OBS had said at our meeting that he was going straight to divorce. Reviewing the evidence I provided to him and his own investigation eliminated any little doubts he had about divorce. My husband has been in the city for work since Monday and he comes home tomorrow. OBS and I are both confronting our spouses tomorrow night, at the same time but separately. A question that OBS had asked me was what was the one date time that bothered me the most. He said for him it was when AP said she was away in LA for work. Their son is asthmatic and had the flu while she was supposedly in LA and he was in the ER for over 10 hours with his son. She was actually on the city with my husband just 1 hour away. It obviously would have blown her cover to come home, and OSB said he was blown away that covering up her own lies was worth more than being there for their son. For me, I think it was when we had planned a 3-day trip to tour my son's top choice of colleges and explore the city of that college. This had been planned out for a few months, but a few days before the trip my husband had a work commitment come up. In messages I found that AP also had a work commitment unexpectedly come up. My husband chose to spend those 3 days with AP rather than spend that time having a pretty amazing experience helping our son make a choice for his future. Yes, son got into this college and will be attending this fall. I'm a nervous wreck for tomorrow night's confrontation. Today OBS said we're on the same team, we'll get through this. I hope so. Update 4. Me. Do you think we have a good marriage? Him. Yes, of course. Why are you asking this? Me. You're happy in our marriage? You think we have a good marriage? Him. Yes, everything is great. You're scaring me. Why are you asking this? Are you not happy? Me. Right now, no, I'm not happy. I'm pretty FKING miserable right now. Him. Okay. Me. I thought we were happy too, which is why I'm trying to figure out why you're cheating on me. Him. What? Why would you say that? Me. Because you're cheating. Him. How can you say that? Now I'm pissed. I would never do that to you. How could you say that? You know I would never do that. Me. I know you're cheating. Silence. Head in hands. Looking at floor. Then jumps off the couch and storms into our bedroom saying, I need a minute. After he returns about 10 minutes later. Eyes red like he'd been crying. First thing he says is, what do you know? I say, I know you've been cheating, I want you to be honest with me. He says, I'm sorry, I'm so FKING sorry. Conversation devolves into me asking for details. He goes on to say it was just a fling, it's over, she meant nothing to him, it didn't last long, he doesn't know why he did it, he's sorry, he's so sorry, there were no feelings involved. Both of us were crying, I was crying a lot. At one point I say I must have done something really terrible to you for you to do this. He says you've done nothing, it wasn't about you. Me dash what was it about, I don't understand, we have this beautiful life, there has to be a reason and I don't want to hear that you don't know why you did this. And this is what he said which I can't wrap my head around. Everything with us was great, it's always been great. But I started getting attention from her and it just happened. I started thinking about the monotony of our life, there are no highs and lows. It just felt exciting, I guess. And once it started I wasn't able to stop, it was like the adrenaline took over. My response was, let me get this straight. You started FKING someone else, sneaking around, lying, blew up our entire life because we were too happy? He admitted it sounded stupid saying it out loud, but it's just how he felt. I asked who she is. He wouldn't answer, he said she has a husband and kids and he didn't want to wreck that. What about our marriage, me, our kids? It says so much that you are choosing to protect her and her family over us. He said it's not like that. At this point I told him he had to leave, which he resisted at first, but I was literally breaking down and so upset and I told him I couldn't be around him, so he packed up, coming to me every few minutes to check on me and say I'm so sorry. My brother showed up as he was packing. I told him I already have a divorce attorney working on things, that he needed to get an attorney. This shocked him. You can't just decide on your own, we are done, we have to talk about this, we can work through this, there's the kids to think about. My only response was seems to me you and AP's name already decided this for us, don't worry, she's having just as shitty of a night as you are. This made my brothers laugh. And my STBX looked surprised at the mention of AP's name. My oldest brother walked out with him and I saw them arguing out in the driveway, then he left. Update 5. This morning we talked with the kids. Anonymous or not, I'm not going to get too detailed about the discussion to protect my kids' privacy. I feel it's unfair to dive too deeply here about their most vulnerable moments. Kids ages 14, 16, 17, almost 18. Beforehand, I had spoken to STBX about this talk, telling him the information my therapist gave me on the healthiest way to approach it. I told him that he should be the one doing the talking because, well, we all know why. He did not want to have this talk, felt like it was too soon, and what if we work things out, it will just confuse them and get them upset for nothing. I then explained that one, they will know something is up because he will no longer be living with us. 2, the only thing to work out going further is a co-parenting plan. He tried to engage in a discussion about us, I declined the offer and kept it about the game plan of the conversation about the kids. Sat down with the kids when they came home from my sister's house. My STBX started the discussion using the very vague explanation the therapist suggested. We are having problems, can't find a resolution to those problems, and think it's best for Dad to move out for a while so it doesn't affect the kids. There won't be a lot of difference in our home life since Dad spends much of the week in the city and Dad will be able to spend time with them on weekends. Silence. From all 3 kids. Oldest, you're cheating on Mom, aren't you? Other 2 chime in, stop, he would never do that. Arguing amongst the 3 kids. STBX says not one thing. Nothing. I ask them to calm down so we can talk. Oldest dash everything's been fine, we'd know if you've been not getting along, you're cheating, aren't you? It has to be that. STBX is silent, won't say a thing. Me to X, you have to tell them. Silence. Me to kids, yes. All 3 start yelling and crying. How could you do this? Why would you do this? Are you getting a divorce? Lots of yelling and crying. I hate you. On and on and on. STBX, I know you're all upset, you have a right to be, I've let you down, but this has nothing to do with you, it's between me and Mom." I think he might have said this as a way to let them know this isn't their fault. But it backfired. How can you say it has nothing to do with us? It has everything to do with us. My oldest called him a hypocrite, always telling us to respect women, lecturing me about how to treat my girlfriend, and your FKING around on Mom. There was a lot more conversation, mostly the kids saying things in anger and STBX apologizing. When things calmed down, I told them that they can go to my brother's house, that I needed to talk to Dad privately. All my brothers and my sister and spouses had gathered at my brother's house, knowing I was telling the kids and thinking having their cousins around afterwards might be a support for them. Before they leave, my oldest says, "Mom, he's not staying here, right? Like, he's not coming back here, right? I mean, there's no coming back from this, you know that, right?" Once kids left, I told him he should pack more stuff while we are all gone. He said, "Don't you want to talk?" I said, "What else is there to say? I am traumatized having to sit and watch these kids go through that. Now, are you thinking of the consequences? Are the FKING lows worth it?" I told him to text me when he's gone so I know he won't be here when we got back. Update 6. It's been a roller coaster ride of so many emotions to deal with. Emotions of my own, my kids, and some family. My MIL and FIL returned from vacation last week, and they are having a really hard time with it all. My STBX and his siblings sat down with them to break the news, and they are devastated. My MIL has called me every day to be his support system, but the conversation usually turns into her saying I didn't raise him to be this way and crying. My FIL tried to talk me into reconciliation for the kids. I know he is coming from a genuine place as they are both very worried about the kids, so I am trying to be patient with him. He is very disappointed in my STBX and has had to put a pause on our conversations because he is brought to tears. The kids have started therapy. They have opted for group sessions together. Their therapist has encouraged this approach as he says it will help in their healing process to learn to be a healthy support system to each other. Reconciliation with their father will be a long process and might look differently to each of the kids. Group sessions will help each of them to accept each of their individual journey towards reconciliation with their father so it will not damage the sibling relationship. My STBX and I had our first proper conversation about the affair and our separation/divorce. He still wants reconciliation, I do not. Something I asked him was, if roles were reversed, would you forgive me? We both know he wouldn't. His response was, "You're a better person than I am." Basically, he was expecting that if he were to get caught I would give him a chance to reconcile. He never thought I would decide on divorce. I said, "You have higher expectations for me than you do for yourself. Do you think that's fair?" I had a session with my therapist since our talk. Maybe some of you might have insight on this. My therapist said what my STBX said is very common in WPs. They don't think the relationship will end without being given the opportunity for reconciliation. They feel entitled to reconciliation because they spent so much time using blaming their BS to excuse their infidelity. Has anyone else experienced this? Last week there were an array of emotions. Anger, sadness, grief, anger. The last few days I've felt detached. Many people have asked for updates on OBS. I feel like he is much further along in this crazy process than I am. Probably because he had suspected his wife's infidelity for a number of years. AP is staying with her sister. As far as I know, there has been no contact between her and my STBX. OBS says AP is angry at STBX because she thought they would be together. She threw that in OBS' face when he confronted her, and now she has egg on her face. I have shown OBS all of my posts and all of your words of support and advice. I felt it was only fair he knew I was posting our business. I'm trying to talk him into joining Reddit if only to peruse these support subs as I've found them so helpful. He says he's not a social media guy but he'll think about it. Update 7, and Day 2. Very early this morning, I woke up to an IG message sent to me in the middle of the night. From AP, from a fake IG ACCT, I have her blocked on all social media. Hi, it's AP, just so you know, I'm not the only one. Ask him about Megan. I've got a feeling he's been lying to both of us and felt you deserve to know. How nice of AP, after screwing my husband for 7 months to suddenly think of my feelings. Screenshot it, didn't respond, blocked ACCT. Ironically, STBX was stopping by at 9 a.m. as we had to go over financial information, go over our monthly budget and him finding living arrangements locally. I call my sister, on the verge of a panic attack. Panicked, I just found this info and I'm going to see him in 2 hours. She calms me down, we try to brainstorm about who Meg can be. How to find out who she is. I sure as hell wasn't going to ask AP. My sister calms me down somewhat, tells me to confront him and record on my phone for evidence. Instead of this being a productive conversation about finances and future arrangements, it's Day 2. STBX comes over with coffee and bagels. How nice. We sit down in the kitchen and I ask, so have you spoken to AP? He says he had her blocked on everything, but she was trying to contact him at work last week and finally, on Friday, he had it out with her and told her to stop contacting him. I ask, how about Megan? He looks surprised. Huh? Megan, have you talked to her? He starts saying he doesn't know what I'm talking about and I just say, you can't keep doing this to me, acting like I'm crazy, please just tell me the truth, I'm having panic attacks, can't sleep, just please, I know, I need the truth. To make a long story short, Megan is a woman from this organization he joined 5 years ago of professionals who get together to network, get ideas on team building strategy, growth strategies, marketing. They get together 6 times a year in different destinations. My take has always been it's a bunch of yuppies using business networking as an excuse to go on extravagant vacations every other month. Affair with Megan began June 2019 and ended April 2020. He claims it ended because he felt guilty, but I think it really ended because of the COVID shutdowns. Megan lives in a neighboring state but works in the city. At first he swore their hookups were only on these trips, but after some pushback from me he admitted they met in the city a few times. He said he's had no contact at all with her in over a year because she left the group. But wait, there's more. I asked him if there were any others, begged him, please, don't make me find out on my own, just tell me now, I can't do any more of these confrontations. He said there was one more AP. Almost 5 years ago, a few months after we bought the apartment. He dated Cindy for 3 months, they had sex only a few times and she ended it because Cindy didn't know STBX was married. She dumped him when she learned he was married. After I told him to leave, I call my sister. Fill her in, she asks if I'm going to tell Megan's husband. Yeah, duh. She says better do it soon before he warns her. Look her up on IG and FB, nothing. My sister is also checking, Megan must have blocked me because my sister found her right away. She found husband on IG, I couldn't, guess she blocked me there too. But I was able to find his work info and work email. So I send OBS Craig an email, explaining everything. He calls me within 20 minutes of the email. Turns out he caught Megan sexting another member of that group last year, which is why she left the group. They've been in MC for a year, Craig said he knew in his gut there was more and she gaslit him for the last year. He asked for the recording I made of STBX admitting the details, and we will be in touch. All of this happened before lunch. I'm shocked, angry, hurt. I feel like I don't know this person anymore. Update 8. I am the proud mama of a high school graduate as of this past weekend. This weekend, actually this last week, was full of lots of emotions. His prom was a few days before graduation too. I wish I could say I went into these special moments with a positive mindset, but I failed miserably, I fear. I think this was because when you get to these huge milestones, which aren't just milestones for your kids, but also for yourself and for your relationship, it also brings up memories of the past as well as all those plans or dreams for the future. And I've spent a lot of mind space questioning memories of the past as being valid or real, because of STBXH betrayals as well as mourning those future plans and dreams. It's odd sharing space at what should be a momentous occasion for our kids with the person who betrayed you. It's odd sitting next to your WS at your oldest kid's graduation, knowing without this cloud over us we would be high-fiving each other saying we got 1 through HS, 2 more to go. Instead it was anxiety and silence. It was our 2 other kids opting to sit next to their cousins to avoid their father. It was both of our families, getting together for the first time, who normally are pretty tight and friendly, be tense and awkward. I planned a huge barbecue for my son, lots of family and friends. Our immediate family know the reasons for our separation, our extended does not. So it felt like putting on a show in a way. The week leading into the party was a week filled with anxiety and racing thoughts, like movies I can't stop playing in my head, of the betrayals. My oldest pulled me aside last week and told me he had been talking to his college about delaying his entrance for a year. So he can stick around home and be a support system to me, help me with things around the house and with his brother and sister. I told him absolutely not. He's worked his butt off for 4 years to go to this university, and he's going. It makes me so angry at my ex. So angry that his choices, his selfishness has made my kids feel responsible for me. Worries about me. That they need to pick up his slack, make up for his choices. It shouldn't be that way. My ex has finally retained a divorce attorney. He's been informed via my attorney that all contact should be made through attorneys, unless pertaining to the immediate needs to our kids, in which case communication will be made through a parenting app. Of course my ex is not happy with this. At our son's graduation he wanted to know why can't we at least be friends. LOL. My response was my friends don't FK me over the way you did. He is still in contact with Megan, AP2, and he continues to get together with her. He claims to have gone NC with her. I guess he thinks I'm an idiot. Like I don't have contact still with Craig, OBS2, I have told him he won't know what hits him if he attempts to bring that woman around my kids, and BTS I have informed his parents exactly who he's been hanging out with. Call me vindictive if you will, but anyone FKs with my kids, even their other parent, I will go full mama bear on them. He claims he would never do that. I said yeah, there's a lot of things I thought you'd never do, but here we are. OBS1 is ahead of the game than me. He got his ex, AP1, served divorce papers at work. They used to work together at the same place she is currently employed. So when she got served, of course some of his old colleagues reached out to him to check in, and let's just say he didn't hold back. Apparently, this put AP1 into a spiral. Well, that's it for now. For a few weeks I thought I was doing well, somewhat on my way to move forward, but this last week I feel like I'm back to square one in a way: anxiety, mind-racing movies, anger, tears. It all has come crashing back. Last update. The further along I go in this new path in infidelity, the more I am seeing my ex for who he really is. An idiot. It's such a strange experience, to have the blinders removed from D-Day to see the person you've spent 2 decades with for who they really are. An idiot. I can come up with more colorful descriptions of him, but I'm trying really hard to be classy. My oldest son's 18th birthday was last week. He didn't want anything big, so I put together a barbecue/pool party for close family including his aunts, uncles, cousins and grandparents, and ex. He made plans with friends for later. My siblings refused to speak to my ex, so there was that awkwardness. It was tense. But the party ultimately was a success, as much of a success as I could have expected under the circumstances, considering 18 years old is not on speaking terms with his father. Let me preface example number 1 of why my ex is an idiot with, my cousin's son and my son are the same age, I'm very close with my cousin and the boys are very close too. My cousin and his son are super into dirt biking, my son would love to be into it too, but it's the one sport I've said no to. However, since the boys turned 13, I've allowed my cousin to take my son with his son for a yearly camping/dirt biking trip every summer. They actually are planning to go next week. Anywho, to get to the point where my ex is an idiot. Towards the end of the party, my ex presents my son his gift. A motorcycle. Yes, a motorcycle. Of course he bought one for himself as well. Son. I don't know what to say. Ex, I know you like dirt biking, so I thought this would be cool. Son. This isn't a dirt bike and I don't have a motorcycle license. Ex, we can get you one. Son. I am leaving the state for college in a month, what am I going to do with this? Ex, maybe you can bring it to school. Son. Freshmen can't have cars on campus and anyway, where would I keep it? My son might seem ungrateful here, but what happened next is he got really quiet and just walked away. This is not like him, he's a pleaser, very conflict avoidant. My ex was upset asking WTF. My daughter, 16, much more combative than my son, says he knows you're trying to bribe him, Dad. And she's right, this is what my ex does, instead of doing what he needs to do to work on things, he will try to charm his way or bribe his way back into good graces with grand gestures. This time it backfired. Example number 2 of why my ex is an idiot. As he is leaving from the party, I remind him he should make his flight reservations for when we move my son into his dorm next month. He says, "Oh, I forgot to tell you, I can't go, something came up." Apparently he is working on himself, he dropped therapy because it wasn't helping him and found a life coach instead. He booked a meditation retreat across the country for that week. I am proud of myself because I didn't say a word in response. My spidey senses were piqued, I had a gut feeling he was hiding something. He told me he was going on his own to work on himself, to really focus on himself. But gut feeling was telling me something and I wasn't going to question him because I've been working real hard at maintaining very low contact. I called Craig, OBS2, the next day to check in. I asked him if Megan was going away next month. Surprise, surprise, she is going away on a week-long meditation retreat. My ex thinks I'm an idiot, but he's the real idiot. I don't understand how he can think he can ever rebuild a relationship with his kids if he doesn't put the work into it. If it was me, I would be doing everything I could to prove myself to my kids. I'd be showing up always, even if I had to stay in the background, to show them that no matter what I will always be there, even if they're pissed at me, not speaking to me, even if I make mistakes. I would always fight for relationships with my kids. My ex gets him a motorcycle as a quick fix, when what he should be doing is showing up for major life events, especially if it's difficult to do. It's frustrating to watch, but what I've learned in therapy is that my ex's relationship with the kids is up to him to maintain, not me. I'm only responsible for my own relationship with them. But God, it's so hard to watch.